Yeah.
For 77, you're married or something. Yeah, or you just know when say something and it's like.
So show up. Also, the first one. It's anything all.
Oh, never.
That's what I mean. As the hardcore Tuesday.
I know.
Now, they were talking about, okay. Joe and, Mr. Wagner were talking about it. I think it had more to do with the pitching ball thing. I think.
Oh, okay, so it's some message that might, so I would get into that and I would find out.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're gonna get that and meet with Matt and I just talk about it. So, so, but yeah, I always say, when it comes to, not actually.
That's okay. Everyone told me that they said. Okay. Thursdays, I'm sorry to get it.
Well.
They were like. I don't normally take care of them this year.
You could.
You're weak, right? So they said.
You know where I said, you I'm sorry.
And so. And.
Yeah, they were all. Getting better. They're like. Yeah.
Don't press not to gas. It's the big tanks in there. They don't burn diesel, they burn gas. They were laying on the road.
Yeah. Great, great.
Get done at 1
I'm good. Here it was Sunday.
That's.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That's good.
I call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works and Safety. Please have a roll call.
Mayor Dean Vonderheide,
Present.
Board Member Tim Bell,
Present.
Board Member Nancy Eckerly. Here. Police Chief Chad Dick.
Here.
Street Commissioner Jeff Typing.
Here.
City Engineer Chad Hearn.
Here.
Personnel Safety Loss Control Director Cal Denise.
Here.
Fire Chief Code Enforcement Officer Kenny Hosen.
Present.
Director of Community Development and Planning Josh Gunselman.
Here.
Park and Recreation Director Tom Mormon.
Here.
City Attorney Renee Caper. Here. Clerk Treasurer Kirsten Denise present. In order to have a quorum, a majority of the board members must be present. All board members are present, which is a majority. Therefore, there is a quorum for this meeting.
Would all the record please stand and join the pledge of allegiance. Minutes be sent out with any additions or corrections. So minutes, if not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as they were presented.
I have a motion for minutes, second, consent. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's a special week for us. And we do a proclamation here I'd like to read, and we have several people in attendance today that represent this group of professionals. Specifically, this is around our police officers, firefighters, paramedics, but also our telecommunicators. So, whereas emergencies can occur anytime and can require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Jasper Police Fire Communication Center. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators at the city of Jasper have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, the suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Therefore, I, Dean Vonderheide, Mayor of the City of Jasper, do hereby proclaim this week, April 13th to the week of April 13th to 19th, 2025, as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So if you would, if I could have the telecommunicators that are here. come forward. And I say this, I read this out, and if you talk to the police department, the fire department, they'll be the first ones to tell you these people make a difference in their response. Quality response we have, their safety. You know, these guys, you got their back. That makes a huge difference. Congratulations.
That's what I want to do.
Next item on the agenda is claims. Claims are sent out. Any reviews or any questions about the claims or any comments?
The claims are distributed for a period of March 14, 2025 to April the 8th, 2025, in the amount of $2,705,677.04. Just a couple of claims to note. We pay $279,985 to Motorola Solutions for the portable radios for the police department. And $196,073 to Regal for the multi-use strat project.
I'll make a motion to approve claims as read.
Okay, I have a motion from Tim,
I'll second that motion.
second from Nancy. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is the Strassenfest Committee. Corey.
That's me. Great, so I hope that you guys received the packet of requests. Yes, so I don't need to go through those individually, right? We are requesting these things from July 24th through August 5th, 2025 for the Strassenfest. Just going through a few things of note that I think I updated since the last time.
Corey, can you check, is that mic on?
It is on. Do I need to get closer? The Tim Clark Cultural Center parking lot is not needed because the barbecue contest is not happening this year. We just found that out recently. We are requesting that the garden by Schaefer Barn is to be used for colonial crafts from the Daughters of the American Revolution. And I'm not quite sure of any other updates since you received this.
Hey, this is going out to the park department, the street department, police department, electric department, fire department.
It should have.
Good. Everything's good. Assuming.
We've had other conversations on the side via email with parks, streets, police, and we plan to have a safety meeting with a lot of these agencies at the end of April as well.
Mayor, I did want to bring up the River Center parking lot. As you know, that's kind of like a sore spot for me. They are supposed to dedicate 50 spaces for all community events that go on. But I've observed during Strassenfest, they guard the lot, they post signs, no parking. And I don't think that's on your list here.
It is, and I wasn't made aware of
But
that.
it really needs to be on really for every event that happens down in that area. I believe when I read their contract, they were supposed to have 50 parking spots reserved for public parking. And they specifically guard that lot and don't let people park in there. So I think we, the city, probably need to have a discussion with them about that. I appreciate that.
Is that something I should request further on this list as well?
This public parking.
Okay.
Necessary.
Because I'm not
For you.
requesting to close it.
Yeah.
You know, we would just want it accessible.
Yeah, these are just. Yeah. I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. So you're seeking a blanket approval for the request here.
If that's appropriate, yes.
Yeah.
Corey, besides the Tim Clark with the
Yes.
no barbecue contest, that would be open, are there any other major changes?
I don't believe so. Oh, I just noticed vintage baseball will not be at Schrader Complex, but that didn't inflict anything upon parking. But from previous years, everything looks to be the same. Just dates have changed. I have requested with the school corporation to use some of their parking as well that connects to city.
Any department comments? Hearing none, then I seek a motion to approve the request from the Strassenfest Committee for the use of city property and street closures as outlined in document provided us April 8th, 2025.
Maybe you should second it, so. 'Cause-
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I'll make that motion.
Okay, yeah, good, because I don't want to repeat all that.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, I made the motion, Tim has seconded, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, see by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Have a
you
good day.
for all the work you put into it.
Absolutely.
Phil Beeler, Roseman Land Survey.
They're fighting.
We can share.
Well, I have.
We would see here.
Good morning, Phil Beeler with Grossman Land Surveying and Engineering, here on behalf of Sultan's Run Golf Club LLC, who is requesting a one lot plat, Sultan's Run First Edition. You'll see on the aerial that this is on Meridian Road, quarter-mile south of the entrance into Sultan's Run. It's approximately 9.3 acres. The intent of this is for Chris Treader, who's the general manager of Sultan's Run. His plan is to build a house on this piece of property. So in order to do that, we needed to do this one lot plat of approximately 9.3 acres. It was approved by the plat committee last week. I gave Kirsten copies of the big plat that includes the second sheet. I've got the signatures from the other city officials. We went to the commissioners yesterday to get the approval of the dedication of right of way of Meridian Road. Meridian Road is a county road there. So we went to the commissioners to get that. So what we would be asking for acceptance today would be the easements that are set forth by this plat. There's a 20-foot public utility and drainage easement that goes along the north line of the subdivision. And then it turns and goes along the east line. The east line of this subdivision is an existing ditch. You can see that on the aerial. That tree, within that tree line that runs along the east line is a ditch. So we wanted to make sure we got the drainage component of that there. And then you'll also see coming off of Meridian Road, about halfway down, running up to the north, kind of northeasterly up to the north line is another 20-foot drainage easement. You'll see on the aerial, a tree line kind of running in that same area. That's an existing ditch as well that we wanted to get a drainage easement on as well. So that is what we would be asking for acceptance today, would be the easements associated with the plat in front of you.
And is the plat the red area or the yellow?
The plat is the red area. That's the 9.3 acres. There's a little oddity down on the south line because of the ownership of Michael Klumper there. Some efforts have been made to, and are still being made to maybe alleviate that, but at this time, he hasn't been able to do so. So I think that's still hopefully something that happens going forward. But yes, the red would be the extent of the 9.3 acres.
So the Meridian Road dedicated right away is 50.
50 feet, yeah. So because it's not in the inventory of the city of Jasper, the state does have a just like the city of Jasper, local street, minor collector, major arterial, that type of thing, they have a classification. So just to the north of this is Sultan's Entertainment and Lodging addition that was done when Chris was looking to put the simulator restaurant up there near the entrance to Sultan's Run. When that was done, a 50-foot right of way was dedicated for that across that entire quarter mile. So we just we matched that, and the county was fine with that. But that's why we did that, just because of an NDOT classification that puts it up above a local street.
Where would they enter their property?
There's an existing, I believe if you look on the plat, it shows a 30-foot easement existing. There's actually an existing driveway within that easement that he's planning on using. And that's all been approved with the county as far as that goes, that access onto the county road.
I think with Chris's plans there. This personal residence,
Yeah, so the personal residence is going to be back. If you look kind of at the northeast corner of that little notch, there's a number of buildings shown there. His house is going to be back in that area. And then he actually got a variance for an accessory structure that's going to be out kind of where you see the 31.0 out closer to the road. So he got a variance for an accessory structure out in front of the principal structure and all the other things, height and compatibility and all that kind of stuff. So all that's in place. But yeah, his intent is to have a nice home in a nice accessory structure there.
that. Make a motion, we accept Sultan's run easements as requested.
I'll second that motion.
We have a second from Nancy. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I left with Kirsten, there's 4 Mylar copies and 3 paper copies for signatures. Thank you.
That's okay. So annually, we hold the Old Jasper Day, and in conjunction with the Lions Club for the Strawberry Festival. So here's a little handout on this. So what I'm requesting actually is the Riverwalk Plaza area, all shelter houses and the gazebo, although I believe the Lions Club had already requested the use of at least one gazebo, maybe one shelter house, maybe 2, because they do the strawberries and the Strawberry Festival. And I guess a little background, they've been doing the Strawberry Festival for many, many years. And then a group at some point decided we needed to make it bigger. So we kind of worked with them, and then we called it Old Jasper Days. It was a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday. That didn't seem to be very successful. So we narrowed it to 1 day, Old Jasper Day. And so we include things like the Strawberry Festival, which is a main part of it. They are the only food that's there. We do get requests occasionally for others, but in respect to the Lions Club, since this was originally their event, we just limit it to them having the food. We also have the city mill is open as usual. We have a concert in the gazebo. Last year, Ginger Hettinger, through the sorority, started a scavenger hunt. And so you go there down to the Riverwalk area that day, and then you register, you do a scavenger hunt throughout the community. So they're continuing that this year. And then we do have the train rides in conjunction with the park department and their contract with the Railway Museum. And so those are 12, 1, 2, and 3. And then also just little things like face painting. People can go look at the barn and the schoolhouse. I don't think the schoolhouse is open, but people can look around that area. We do have carriage rides secured, and then people can just walk the Riverwalk. So it's just kind of a nice kind of kickoff of the summer for a little 1-day festival in Jasper. So I'm just really looking for permission to hold it down in that Riverwalk Plaza area, using the shelter house and then the gazebo for the music. From probably the Lions Club are there probably about 8 o'clock in the morning. We would use it then throughout the day until things are cleaned up. And we have on here 6 p.m., but it would go no later than probably 5 o'clock. So 6 is good, just in case the Lions Club have a bigger thing to clean up.
Sounds great. Sounds like another good day.
It should be, yeah, maybe the water will be down by then. Pretty high right now.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve, Old Jasper Day, Sunday, May 18th. Set up 7, 8 a.m. somewhere there with, tear down by 5 or 6 p.m. that day. At the Jasper Riverwalk Plaza area.
Yes.
I will second that motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
And I'll abstain.
Chief.
Good morning, board. Start off with our monthly report. Maybe you all have received a copy of that. Is there any question on the numbers? If not, I'll go into a little bit more details as to,
Looks like the number of calls are up.
yeah, number of calls are up to 1637, which is the highest of so far of this year. So typically as the weather gets a little bit nicer, people are out and about, the calls for service obviously go up too. So but since you have the numbers, I'll go into some of the details. Excuse me. I'd like to start off by kind of recognizing our detectives at the police department. Jasper Police Department has 3 of them. The 3 of them are exude professionalism and the way that they investigate crimes and handle the victims of those crimes. And unfortunately, they have to, the job of the detective is investigating some of the worst things that people can think of, like child pornography. So during March, they've investigated one major case and arrested that person on several charges associated with child pornography. And then in another case, received a guilty verdict on a person who was subsequently sentenced for a total of 6 years. So I would ask, anyone in this room, anybody might be watching online, that if you see these guys, thank them. Somebody once reminded me that the brain cannot unsee what the eyes have seen. So those guys have to see a lot, and they deserve some gratitude. So on March 9th, Officer Nick Goller conducted a traffic stop, and during the course of that investigation, noticed that there was some criminal activity that was afoot. So he called for a K-9 and Sergeant Clint Gogol with the Du Bois County Sheriff's Department just happened to be close, so he responded along with his K-9 chase. K-9 chase indicated on the vehicle, and a subsequent search located a sizable amount of methamphetamine, over 50 syringes, and other drug paraphernalia. That subject was charged with dealing in meth, possession of syringes, and possession of drug paraphernalia. On March 15th, as we know, our city was hit with some strong storms, and it was in the early hours, at 4 o'clock on a Saturday. But as expected, when the call came out, the department responded as we'd like them to. All hands were on deck. They assisted with cutting up trees that were downed, spinning traffic signals that had been spun in the high winds back into the right directions, so that traffic could flow as best as possible once the power got restored. During a 8-hour period from 4 to noon that day, our dispatch center received 165 calls. So as the mayor said earlier, we're blessed to have dedicated people to answer those calls and to direct the emergency services elsewhere. And on that note, I'd like to thank all the other city departments that day. We worked hand in hand on several issues, and it was truly teamwork that was able to get the city back up and going. Speaking of serving the community, on March 18th and 19th, we had several members that were at the Jasper High School for their annual career cruise for the 8th graders. It's where all Du Bois County 8th graders come to the Jasper High School, kind of learn about different jobs and different career paths. So we're there to showcase what the Jasper Police Department has to offer. And then the following day was the career fair, to which that is when the 11th and 12th graders come in from all over the county and kind of get ideas of maybe what the next steps are in their lives. I learned a long time ago when I was a PIO with the state police and a recruiter that we gotta engage those folks at a young age. Those of us that are in law enforcement or public service typically were exposed to it at a very young age, which sparked our interest, which led us to leading our careers. So, but as I talk about the schools, I think it's important to recognize what our SROs do in there. I truly believe that those guys are the unsung heroes of our schools, of the youth, and of our community. They're the first contact that many of the youth have and the exposure to law enforcement. So just in March, in the 16 days that school was in session in March, school resource officers Kenise and Lampert documented 97 activities, which include arrests, searches, drug or alcohol violations, canine assistance, stop arm violation, crashes, home visits, training, DARE programs, informal counseling with the students, and then athletic events. So those guys are very, very busy inside the schools. We had the opportunity to assist a couple agencies. On March 25th, the Indiana State Police had a wanted subject run from them on a traffic stop that was at the Y. So our department, along with obviously the state police and the sheriff's department, all converged on the area and began searching. Those searches consisted of utilizing our canines, our drones, to try to locate this person that ran. We searched for a couple hours until we were notified that the subject had gotten a ride shortly after he ran away from the area. But the cooperation and teamwork that was displayed that day was truly commendable. The next day, the Pike County Sheriff's Office had a different wanted subject that was barricaded in a house in Otwell, and they needed a canine to assist with the apprehension. Officer Joe Chambers was given the green light to go over with canine Gator to assist them. And upon Joe giving the commands that a canine, to surrender a canine was coming in, the subject did surrender without incident, without bite, and the situation ended peacefully. I highlight those situations because I think it's important that the board realizes that it's when we come together and work with the other agencies and are willing to assist them, that portrays that the city of Jasper, it portrays us in a positive light, as shows our capabilities, our professionalism, and our willingness to serve and protect. And then finally, on the last day of March, Officer Goller once again was dispatched to a welfare check on a suicidal subject. The caller had a general idea where this person was located. Officer Goller responded. He quickly found the person that was unconscious. He administered several doses of Narcan on the subject and then was able to turn that person over to EMS to be transported. Due to his and others, there was a deputy that responded. That person did survive. So anyway, like I said, it was a busy month. Once again, a lot more than what just the numbers show. So are there any questions on the monthly report? Okay, so the next item on my agenda was the Zetron radio consoles and the PSP contract. Zetron radio consoles are what our dispatch uses. That's the radios that are used in dispatch. And one of the perks of having those is if we have people that are trained at the department, they can make changes. And we do have two people that are trained as technicians. One is telecom supervisor Brittany Schreiner, and the other one is Sergeant Ben Kenise. But for them to be able to do anything, we must purchase the product service plan or the PSP. And once we have that, they have access to 24/7 contact with the technical support at the factory. They can make software upgrades, software changes, those things that come along. The PSP is good for 1 year, covers the software services, the hardware, after hours phone support, membership in the ZMAX or the Zetron Max users group. The existing PSP expires on June 10th. And the cost is $2,014 per console, which the police department has 4. So we're requesting to continue with the PSP at a total cost of $8,056. I'll be transparent, saying that this money was not budgeted for in our budget this year. How it got overlooked, we don't know, but it got overlooked. So we intend to take the money out of contractual services to ensure that the PSP can move forward. So I'm asking for permission to continue with that at a cost of $8,056.
Is that an annual fee on those?
Yes.
So in a way, it kind of is contractual services, I guess.
Right.
It's under a contract with the company.
Right.
And I'm curious about Ben Kenese. What's his relationship with the dispatch?
So Ben, prior to coming on the department, worked for one of the local radio suppliers
Yeah.
in communication. So he actually became a technician through that job and has just carried his certifications through the department.
And do that.
Right.
So just, if you do make a motion to approve, I have not seen the contract, so I would not.
I have a quotation, we're waiting on an invoice, if you guys would like to see the quote that explains what's in the.
They provide a quote, but they put a link in the quote to a much longer agreement that's on. So just forward to me, whatever it is that you have.
Okay, all right,
And you said the other one doesn't, it expires the first part of June.
expires in
So
June,
there
yes.
is time anyway to read all this.
So we'll table a decision on this until you have time or accept it pending your
Approve it
review.
pending review.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the product service plan for the Zetron radio consoles and dispatch for the total price of $8,056. Or this is for period June 1st.
To June of next year, so we'll ensure that it's included into the budget moving forward. I believe what happened was the consoles came in and part of the vendor that was part of that contract was theirs. And then whatever, anyway, last year got overlooked. So when we had an issue with the consoles and we called and we're like, hey, you guys, it's PSP needs to, be
It has to
attended
be
to.
paid
So
for through contractual services. Support that motion.
I'll second that
I
motion.
will second. Nancy, further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
thank you. Next, we'd like permission to junk asset 102015, which is a Decatur Genesis 2 Connect radar unit. It's by 20+ years old at least. It just doesn't work any longer, and the cost to repair it would be more than the cost of purchasing a new one. So we would just like to permission to junk that asset.
In use.
It's not in use now. No, it was just removed from a vehicle, and that's what the determination was. It wasn't working towards the end of its life in that vehicle. So one of the vehicles got traded in and came out of that vehicle.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the request to junk asset 102015, Decatur Genesis 2 Connect radar unit.
Motion from Nancy,
I'll second.
second from Tim. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I do have two more items that came in after I sent Lisa, and I tried to get it to her yesterday. Yesterday before she sent it out, but she was too quick for me on a Monday morning, so. So if the board will allow me, I have a follow-up on the Exos computer quotes from the last Board of Public Works. So as the board had directed me to get a clarification, because we noticed that the math was not correct on the quotes. If you recall, the first page said that if you added it up, it was $22,208, I believe, and some change. And then when you looked at their quote was for $20,000, so it was exactly $2,000 off. So the board had requested that I seek clarification. And so when I got back to the PD, I'd asked Lieutenant Berger to follow up with them, because he'd been the main point of contact there with all that. He immediately sent an email, and then it wasn't until Friday at 4 that I got some explanation from Exos saying that after further investigation, the difference between the totals at the top and the option on the bottom are a mathing error that may have been by human error or maybe software error, but we are not sure. And so basically we were correct in our math of being 22,208.80 versus the 20,000. So I'd like permission to go ahead with the computer quote. I have the updated quote right here for the board. But I'd like to go ahead with the quote as it is for option one. Sent this to you last night. It is the same quote. Oh, did you want it? I think I got it.
Have your other one. Okay, you can take that with you.
It is the same quote, just with the corrected numbers. So the total amount would be 22,508.88. That includes the shipping and handling. And this money was budgeted for.
And they did it as option number one,
Correct.
the Lenovo.
Yes.
At the last meeting, you approved pending verification of the total. You really don't have to do anything now, that is verified the total.
It does say in the minutes, 20,580 pending verification, and that's not correct.
Yeah, the correct number is 22,508.
That's fine.
So it's 2,000 more than, as when we did the math at the last meeting.
Motion to approve the corrected number for the Exos IT computer. Anyway, the corrected amount of $22,508.88.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion for Nancy and a second, Tim.
And they did budget for me.
Any further discussion? All in favor, so saying aye. Aye.
Thank you. The last item I have is Officer Michael Conrad has been on a waiting list at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy to become an emergency vehicle operations instructor. I received information on Friday that they had an opening in the next course that's coming up, which is May 12th through the 16th at the Law Enforcement Academy. So I'm asking permission for Officer Conrad to go to this training to become an instructor in emergency vehicle operations. The breakdown of the cost is $275 for the training, $670 for the hotel, and $175 for meals for the week, for a total of $1,120.
What does this allow him to do?
This will allow him, so obviously,
EVOC training,
right, yes. And we currently have one person that's Aaron Schmidt, who's one of our detectives, also a DARE officer, and very soon gonna become a new dad. So he's getting stretched very thin, very quick. Mike's been on this list for quite some time to try to get in there. They've had some issues with building a new Evo course and milling the old course and all this other stuff, but anyway, so he's been on the list waiting to go do that. But yeah, so he'd be could not only for our department, but also, as you know, we use the Southwest Training Council. So he would help when they do that, be part of that.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah,
Okay.
be part of that team that instructs law enforcement officers in the area.
Does that organization have funds for training?
That's a good question. I'm not part of their meetings or anything, so I
Just
don't
curious.
know as far as
Something in the-
basically it's instructors that are certified through their agencies that, you know, do the instruction that help out there. So
I didn't know if there was any kind of funding for training of officers.
Question.
Just something maybe to think.
okay.
I'll make a motion to send Officer Conrad to EVOC training or to be an instructor with the cost of this for $1,120.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion from Tim and a second from Nancy. Any further discussion? Just make,
Budgeted. It's in the budget.
Training.
just make a comment. I appreciate the fact that we have officers that are willing to go to this additional training and take these certifications. Be leaders in the area. So it's off to Michael Conrad for stepping up.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, so by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
People say. Short night.
Yeah, very sharp. We were leaving our monthly training last night at Master Brand Cabinets on Meridian Road, and as soon as we were pulling out, we were called out by WITS for they told us a UPS truck on fire. He was pulling 2 trailers, and thanks to the great work of our dispatchers, they were able to let us know that the truck runs on compressed natural gas instead of diesel fuel. So when we pulled up, those tanks were already on the highway. The road was closed from 8:30 till 1 o'clock this morning. The tractor trailer, there was nothing left. That compressed natural gas fed that fire. So once those were done venting, and the officials from UPS out of Louisville arrived on scene, they told us that the truck was half full of compressed natural gas. They fill it every day at Plainfield, and then it can make it back and forth twice before they refill. That truck, the only thing left was the engine laying there and the steel frame and a little bit of the radiator. If you look
I
at
saw the
pictures,
picture, I didn't see
Yeah.
the tractor, and I thought, well, maybe he disconnected and pulled away from the fire.
I mean, the guardrails melted, the road has damage. It was a long night. The state highway assisted. We arrived on scene with 2,000 gallons of water. Huntingburg was requested from mutual aid, and they brought their tanker and a pumper. We went through both of those, and their tanker went back and refilled and came back again. It was a stubborn fire. It was product that they pick up from local manufacturers, and it was packed in that trailer. So basically, we had to, at 11 o'clock, we called a local excavator, and they came in, and the wreckers, both wreckers and Starks were there. They towed that trailer back to a local area lot that was open, and the excavator then picked that apart and set it on the ground so we could extinguish that fire. And then they went out to the accident or to the fire site and picked up all the debris. So at 1 o'clock, the road was completely back open. State will be back out, make some repairs to the road, and they put salt down last night. The deputies requested some salt because of the freezing weather and stuff. So, but anyhow,
So the alternative route during that period of time, it had to be going through Huntingburg out to Dressville and around, because
correct. Yeah.
all the back roads are underwater.
Yeah. So of course, we had assistance from Huntingburg, the state highway, from both record services. Can't remember all, the county sheriff's department was on scene. I think other law enforcement was helping direct traffic. So it was a long evening, but anyhow, no injuries. And when those things happen, it's just like we have to, keep a safe area until those tanks have vented and let them do their thing. So, but the driver was really good about informing us the product he had. Dispatch was great, letting us know before we were halfway there. We already knew we were dealing with compressed natural gas. So the work of the dispatchers, gave us that information early on. So, but
Great.
it was quite a scene for a little while, but all went well.
How long do you think that was on fire before he stopped?
Not long. He seen the smoke coming out from under the hood, so he actually pulled off and tried to unhook the trailers and pull away, but he couldn't. He didn't make it. Yeah, it burned too quick. Once that gas started feeding that fire, it was like it burned really fast. So, but anyhow, I'm sure there's some pictures out there floating around, and on our way there, we could see it from a long way away. We could see the flames already. It's just nothing left of that truck. So, but the company, once that truck pulled back up to Plainfield, but there's going to be parts and pieces is what's left of it. So,
We appreciate.
Yep.
The service of our volunteer firefighters, you, chief,
yeah, thank you.
police department, everybody that played a hand in
All
that.
right. So that's all we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gail, anything to respond to? Jack?
Do have a couple items. First item is me not remembering what I've done and what I haven't done. I'd like to request permission to close the streets in Country Club Estates if I haven't already done so for our community crossing project.
I don't think. I'll go. Second year.
I tell you what, yeah, I'm losing my mind. yeah, we will be reconstructing streets out there. We'll have the need to close those streets as we tear them out and rebuild them. It's 19th Street, 20th Street, Emily and Poplar Lane. We are phasing this project so that we do not totally cut everybody off at, one time. Starting contractors wanting to start on Poplar, and work on Emily, and then work their way out from there. So
What you guys were doing, you're taking concrete out, right?
yeah, it's concrete streets that differential settling, different slabs are moving separately. Just, yeah, a lot of problems out there. Street department's redone some of the streets out there already, 19th Street, right? Yeah. So, but this is a wholesale reconstruction. We're looking at several months, off and on. What they'll do is they'll tear the old street out, get subgrade back in there. There will be limited access at that point. And once it's repaved, base coat, all the surface will go on at the end. But like I said, we're looking at 4 or 5 phases for this. Now Poplar Street or Poplar Lane will just be remill and resurface. That is already asphalt. As a part of this, curb and gutter is going to be replaced, and there's some storm sewer work as well. So
When would you think this would start?
they've already started on Poplar.
Okay.
They've done some saw cutting and removal of curb and gutter. So, yeah.
Chad, you've had meetings with the neighbors. And
Yes, yeah, we did,
they're well informed.
yeah,
as to
we
whatever
did.
Steps are gonna be.
we did 2 public meetings with them, held them at the community room at the high school. Try to organize them in an area that they can get to pretty easily. So we did have pretty good attendance for those. Other than that, letters were sent out and the contractors will notify property owners going forward. So
So the neighbors have been notified, at least if they didn't attend the meeting, they got a letter.
Correct.
Stating that.
Yeah.
The scope of the project.
that is correct. Yeah. Biggest question we had was in regards to graduations, so.
So you're asking for us to approve closing those streets as construction.
Corrections, yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So, further discussion? I think the key is just communicate.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we held 2 meetings, and then, like I said, as we go forward here, a contractor will be in contact with those people in those areas that will be impacted. So, yeah.
So all in favor, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item I have just an update on the Main Street, Phase 2 project. Contractors working between 7th and 8th Street right now. They've got the main line of the 2 main storm sewers up the middle of the road, up to 8th Street in. They're currently working on the storm sewer on the east curb line. They're almost, if they're not at 8th Street, they're getting pretty close up there. Then they will move over to the west side in front of German American Bank and put that one in. So we will have to coordinate with the bank on access there. So it'll take a day or 2 to get through there, and then everything will be back to normal. So but while they're digging there will be some impacts. So.
And that's really concerning the drive-through.
Correct, yeah.
So that's the storm sewer and the sidewalk.
Yeah, that'll probably be next week.
Again, my concern is just communicating with the, not just the bank, but all the businesses, so they know what's coming ahead of time.
I think technically the street's closed, but they've been allowing people to park in there, where they can, so.
Staying on Main, I got a question. When Strassen Fest comes around, what will 7th through 9th look like? Would it look like, is it gonna be done by then?
Yeah,
Completely
the
done?
intent is for that to be done mid-July.
Got it. Okay.
Substantial completion.
I mean, we won't have, plannings won't be done and things like
And I
that.
think that's kind of what if, where we at down here, what would you call that substantial? Substantial.
Yes and no, we're working on some sidewalk down there, some tent anchors for the Strassen, for the band stage.
Planters aren't done, right?
No, planters are not
I
done.
think the planters are gonna be done. If that's kind of what I would be worried about is people falling over those
Yeah,
curves.
there'll be, the only thing that won't be done is trees won't be planted, flowers may not be planted,
The dirt will be in.
the perennials won't be in there. Yeah, dirt, everything could be, yeah.
That's kind of just what I was thinking about. is just-
Yeah, no. One of the things that
Final asphalt. May not be.
it should be,
So it'll be great tripping if it's not.
yeah, no, that should be part of it. So, we're working down here with, on the south side with, the water department, installing some water meters. And making some, taps for the irrigation system down there, so that's why we got, dirt down there right now. We're waiting for some of that stuff to get finished up. Next item I have is in regards to the Fourth and Mill intersection. Board had directed us to the traffic committee to take a look at that. I will say this is still ongoing. We don't have an answer for you at this time. We have looked at several options, including stop signs and elevated crosswalks, speed tables. Did take a look at the markings that are down there as far as the crosswalks and the no parking areas. They appear to be correct. So we are in the process of doing a speed study down there to ascertain speeds, traffic flow, that kind of thing down there now. So just an update on it.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Jim. Jeff?
You were talking about elevated, street crossings. I was at, road school, a couple weeks ago and I was going to an event and driving down the street, was not paying attention, was talking to someone riding with me and found the, elevated, crossing and, did a little Dukes of Hazzard thing there. And so anyhow, I'm not a big fan of those. But, anyhow, in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, they're okay. But yeah, this was a little more than 25 miles an hour. But anyhow, had I paid attention, I would have seen the signage, I'm sure. So, less than.
Head on your ceiling.
Yes, yeah, but they seatbelt on, so, anyhow, just a couple of public, service things this morning. One is, the DuBois County Highway Department is going to be, doing some, deck, preservation on the small bridge there at the intersection or the junction of 400 West and 150 North. That is just west of Timber Creek subdivision there. So, real close to the old Shiloh Church. So, right in that 90-degree turn. They're planning to do it on Thursday. I'm not sure whether it's going to allow them to do that. But it will be a one-day closure. And they are taking care of notifying the media, so that one's just letting everyone know so the media can kind of present that as well.
That's gonna affect many of our citizens. We put that in Jasper Insights as well.
We can, sure, yep, we can. So, but yeah, that entire Brescher addition will have to come 490 out to the highway. So, but anyway, all right, and then this morning we did open up South Newton Street is now open, and Third and Newton is open as well. There's little order on it, but I figured it wasn't in the radius, it wasn't bad enough. The river has dropped 6 inches in the last 12 hours. It's going the right direction, so I figure here, who knows if it'll be down in that intersection here by noon probably. We still have Clay Street closed. We have Second Street closed. And Kathy Lane at Kellerville is still closed. There was quite a lot of debris, cornstalk debris at the Kathy Lane and Kellerville intersection. We sent a crew out this morning in anticipation that water is going to go down here too today and hopefully open it up. So I just would encourage the public. I know everybody wants to hurry up and get back out on those streets that are flooded, but there is debris on those roads, and I would not drive my vehicle through that. So I hope they wouldn't as well. I know there's that person that's a great driver and has to get out and move that barricade and go through it. My only request is if I know you're the good driver, the guy behind you isn't. So if you move that barricade, please stop and put it back so that the person that's not a good driver doesn't go in there. So anyhow, sometimes elderly people can get confused, and I resemble that statement. So all right. So yeah, those are the only thing I really have today. So
What does Patoka Reservoir say? Are they okay at levels or anything?
Yeah, they're fine.
Are they good?
They're fine.
Good.
so yeah, I think they're working on that. So
542, I think, and they go to 546.
As far as emergency,
Yeah, discharge.
Oh.
Like that.
Discharge.
Well,
discharge is a different story.
Yeah.
We're actually communicating with them today.
okay, okay, because that affects our road down here.
It does.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's all I have. Okay,
Thanks, Jeff.
thank you.
Josh, you have anything?
Morning, Board. Just a recap of the March permits. We had 18 permits come in, one of which was residential, 2 were commercial, 15 were accessory structures for a total of $3.4 million in investment. Any questions about that? Thank you. Yep.
It's Josh. Hey, you're this morning? Tuesday?
No.
I do tell her I do her.
Aaron had something I wanted to bring up. Someone contacted me the other day about the fire pit, and we all know, we all go by there. The fire pit's going, no one's sitting there. They probably were sitting there 5 minutes before that, but it's on a 30-minute cycle. This person was recommending we make it into a pay type of thing where you stick a quarter in or your credit card or something, and I don't think that might be possible. But I was curious if we couldn't put that on a 15-minute interval instead of a 30-minute interval. That way, I think people might sit there for 30 minutes, then they get ready to leave and they're like, oh, I'll punch it again. And then it's another 30 minutes, but they leave 5 minutes later. So it's really more of a, what it looks like to the public, because there's many times, evening, daytime, where the fire pit is burning, but no one is sitting there. And I was just curious if we couldn't make it to a 15-minute interval rather than a 30-minute interval. I mean, you have to hit it, you have to
Yeah.
punch it to turn it on anyway.
My recollection is that we had a conversation with the gas department about the timing on it, and they recommended 30 minutes thing. I know we looked at that issue.
Oh, I know, I'm sure it was discussed.
Yeah, no, this was a big discussion before we started the whole project with the fire pit. In regards to the firing pin mechanisms and the gas regulators and stuff, it was recommended 30 minutes by the maker of or the supplier of the equipment. So we did look at doing a 15-minute trial with our employees, just to kind of see how it is, but then it avoids any warranties or anything that they have with the equipment. So
I think your conversation probably was held prior to it even being used.
Correct.
And so now that it's being used, I don't know that people sit there for an hour. I don't know. I don't ever see anyone sitting there. I see people sitting there occasionally, but never that in my eyes that they're sitting there for 30 minutes, or if they are 30, they push it again. And then it's another 30 minutes, but they get up and leave. And
Yeah.
so from the public perspective, they're like, that thing's going and no one's sitting there. So, I mean, it wasn't just this one lady. I've had other people mention it also. So I just thought I'd bring it up.
Thank you.
I think we also have some issues with some of the retailers in that area pitching it and then going back into the stores. And, yeah, so they like the aesthetics of it, but then they're not present, and that leaves a bad impression as well. So I think it's a combination of everybody working together to try to get the most effective. We can look into this, but to your point on the warranty, I think that was a big issue that we looked at with that.
Yeah, already. It's probably.
Thanks for bringing it up. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Tim.
I'll second that
Second,
motion.
Nancy, all in favor, say by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
See if we can find it. We should have all the documents.